Audiobooks Successful Management Styles of India Volume 1 What is Different? Author Rajsekhar Polapragada. Chapter 1.2 Leaders of India Before Independence. As I explained to Gordon about the ancient leaders of India, Sri Ram, Sri Krishna and Buddha, the previous day, the next day I began my discourse on Indian leadership and explained that India and China were the wealthiest nations till as late as 17th century, which were quoted in the ancient Egyptian, Persian, Greek and Roman history books. The leadership style depends on the place and situations. Before independence, India had smaller kingdoms, were one of the larger kingdoms, Magadha, who has taken pride in defeating the mighty Greek army, had a minister called Chanakya. Chanakya had brought out a sort of revolution from lethargic, corrupt rule of Nanda dynasty to a dynamic leadership of Maurya Chandragupta with a social awakening. For centuries, Chanakya became a role model for rulers and the public alike. Of the Mughal dynasty, Emperor Akbar alone brought about social peace and coexistence among two religions, Hindus and Muslims. Then the mighty Maratha kingdom had a star, Chhatrapati Shivaji, who has brought the major North India under his rule. Shivaji inculcated confidence and courage in public so that they could fight the formidable opponents. Each of these leaders before independence, Chanakya, Akbar, and Shivaji, had different paths, principles and goals. Never trust the enemy. Use your own wisdom was the Chanakya's strategy, the role model for diplomacy in India even after independence. Make friends with enemies and freedom of religion is the doctrine of benevolent dictator Akbar the Great. Courage is required to fight formidable enemy and who brought the unity of Indians. Valor and strategy was the principle of leadership under Shivaji Maharaj. As India was under foreign rule till 1947, leaders prior to independence were those who united India and tried to bring about one unified Indian thought. Some of them were social reformers, some of them were spiritual leaders. Vinoba Bhave led the Bhudan movement, who was a contemporary of Mahatma Gandhi, and he collected land from rich and peacefully distributed to the poor. These leaders helped India Renaissance, which kept the nation revived from hundreds of years of foreign rule. Vinoba Bhave convinced rich to give up their land, has helped to duck the revolution which occurred in France and Russia in early 19th century. Leaders like Bipin Chandra Pal, Chittaranjan Das helped the nation to give a new thrust to modern education in India. Arvind Ghosh received ancient spiritual wisdom after a stint with freedom struggle condemning colonial rule. Vivekananda is another icon of youth kindling courage and self-respect. He had awakened Indian youth and was the first to arrive in Chicago to win the hearts of Americans and others, proclaiming the Indian wisdom long before Gandhi, who has influenced the world leaders. Raja Ram Mohan Roy helped Indians to get rid of superstitions and dogma by introducing widow marriages and educating women. The Indian Renaissance had taken place simultaneously while freedom struggle was going on. Each of these leaders had mass following, and some are more popular than national leaders, Gandhi and Nehru. The media, being under control of British, has not done justice to by not recording many achievements of these leaders. However, the leaders of independence struggle, namely Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, stand out tall among others. Each of the leaders had their own management style. Some of them were benevolent dictators, some were wise preachers, but all of them influenced Indian thought and style of leadership in managing the problems. Thus, Indian management style has been top to bottom, then bottom to top. So Gordon understood it is difficult for anybody to be in the shoes of Gandhi, as Gandhi achieved a cult status not only in India but all over the world. Chapter 1.3, Leaders of Independence Struggle. Political leaders like Gandhi, Patel and Nehru figure high in the list of people who exhibited management style which are similar, except Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who has led an army against British by joining his hands with the Germans. Contrary to British history books, it is the revolt of Navy in Mumbai in 1946 after World War II which prompted then Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Attlee, to hasten declaring the independence of India. While many stand out in the list of leaders of independence struggle, Balagangadhar Tilak, father of modern independence struggle, stands out as he invited Gandhi to take over the mantle of leadership, and Sardar Patel, who integrated 300 odd small kingdoms into Indian Republic just after Britain declared freedom for India. All those leaders fall into two categories based on their principles of struggle, namely non-violence and direct action. Subhash Chandra Bose comes under direct action. Each of these leaders like Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Buddha, Chanakya, Akbar, Shivaji, Gandhi, Nehru, Patel deserve separate research studies to look into their leadership and understand their styles to explain to Indian public. Particularly Gandhi inspired friends and foes alike. Those who were close to world leadership, history books, know Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan of Afghanistan, known as Border Gandhi, and even Nelson Mandela mentioned Gandhi and followed his path. As late as Barack Obama, they all followed the non-violent path of Gandhi. Gordon was curious to know how Gandhi was inspired to follow non-violence. I explained to Gordon, non-violence is not new to India, as Buddha walked on this land 2000 years back, converting almost all the kings to Buddhism and non-violence. Ashoka the Great had commanded kingdoms spreading from Sri Lanka to Kazakhstan followed Buddhism. Buddhism spread to China, Far East and Japan. Some management systems like temple management existed even before Buddhism. You can find Hindu temples in the places as far as Cambodia, Vietnam. Gordon appreciated that ancient Indian leaders as well as recent leaders stuck to democracy and secularism. I explained that Hindu religion has inbuilt freedom to worship, accepted even atheists as part of Hinduism, leave alone other religions who can worship as per their choice. Even as a result, even before Jesus Christ, India had many religions like Buddhism, Jainism, and Indians gave asylum to Jews and Parsis who were persecuted in Iran, even Syrian Christians. The largest democracy gave voting rights to women and one of the few countries to elect female leaders. India was leading the world. One cannot ignore that the United States of America took a century to give votes to blacks and took a few decades to give votes to the women. Even today, United States of America has not elected a woman as a president. Not only that, pluralism is a backbone of India and Indian democracy. Secularism is an important tenet of Hinduism. Slowly, our discussions moved to the traditional management methods of India. I explained to Gordon that ancient India had several management techniques, though many are now extinct. Some of the old Indian systems are still functioning today. As an example, temple management, Indian wedding management, or festivals or melas management are the three who can still explain some of the Indian management styles. Chapter 1.4 Leaders in Science, Engineering and Business. Gordon felt, without mentioning the modern leaders, especially in science, engineering, and business, it's not complete. So I told him that Nobel Prize winner and world famous physicist Sir C.V. Raman and Bose, as part of Bose-Einstein theory, are some great personalities. There are leaders in their own way, but two fields, atomic and space research, need special mention as achievements are phenomenal in spite of curse by international forces. Thus, India became famous in launching their own satellites and building their own nuclear weapons. Out of the Indian leaders in science and engineering, Mokshagundam Vishwesvaraya was an engineer who guided Mysore Maharaja Nizam and was responsible for many civilian projects and dams. C.V. Raman was a Nobel laureate in physics. Homi Jahangir Baba is the father of Indian nuclear engineering, while Vikram Sarabhai is father of Indian space research, which made Indian engineers and scientists world famous. In the field of business and industry, many names come up, but some names who revolutionized the Indian business model are mentioned below. J.R.D. Tata, who is the father figure for Tata Industries, and G.D. Birla, and who supported Gandhi in the freedom movement and part of the two industrialists, Birla and Tata, who has achieved success even before the Indian independence. Then, post-independence, Dhirubhai Ambani, who was started Reliance Industry, has become the darling of the stock market, and his son now is one of the top rich people in the world. 1.5 Different leadership styles. Management is tough in India during festivals with large crowds participating, which is beyond imagination of anybody. A glaring example is where these systems did not work, or traffic management, and many attribute this failure in the traffic containment or control is due to lack of discipline, and some blame it on the infrastructure facilities inadequate for the present needs. Successful management styles of India were based on traditional management techniques like temple management, mela or fair management, festive management, as it's traditionally done in India. However, majority management principles are based on Western management such as administration, control and staffing, where a leader can show the difference is in people management, sharing of vision and inspiring the staff. Audiobooks. Successful Management Styles of India. Author Rajsekhar Polapragada. Let's continue the first chapter, History and Tradition of India. 1.5 Different Leadership Styles. Management is tough in India during festivals with large crowds. A glaring example is traffic management. Now, unless a leader has vision and knows the people management by inspiring the staff, he can achieve anything. But for that, acceptability is very important. 1.5.1 Acceptability. As the leadership style may vary with the leader, public expectations are high in India, initiated by great leaders like Gandhi and earlier great personalities like Sri Ram, that kept the aspirant Indian leaders on a high pedestal, which is a little tough to maintain to get the acceptability. So, what a leader should think about it. Who am I? What values I add to this world? Would people follow my footsteps? So, with these questions, Gordon and self started going by the leadership styles. So we both agreed leaders are of different styles. Some lead from the front, while others guard from behind. Some communicate, while others listen and understand. Some are transparent, and others bring surprises and inspire trust. Some are brilliant, while others are wise by taking the inputs from their followers. Some are courageous, while others are cautious and protect their followers from disasters. Situations create leaders, while leaders do not create situations. This is where Gordon and I differed. So, should a leader guide the group, or the group influences the leader? The truth is, both are happening. But whose influence is higher will decide the course of the nation or the company. If the leader is strong enough morally and inspire the nation, he is called a great leader. So India needs great leaders. And luckily, we had great leaders at the right time, and that is God's grace. In short, if the leader is acceptable, then he can achieve anything. Gordon felt in West, leaders would lead from the front, and whoever differs with the leader doesn't have a space in his team. But whereas in India, a leader has to live with many opponents, and in fact, winning over the opponents is the biggest challenge for any Indian leader. Thus, historically, the foundation of successful management styles of India became acceptability. Loyalty of team members largely depended on acceptability. Thus, a leader of tall order is required in India to lead the different groups and get cohesion and unity among different thoughts and ideas in India. Another aspect of Indian situation is leaders are expected to accept the weakness and failures of team members, whereas the followers may not forgive the leaders for even their smallest mistakes. Hence, many of the leaders have kept their personal weaknesses and personal failures under carpet, and then they loom larger than the life. That's what probably made the king well respected, because nobody knows the weakness of the leader. That comes to end of chapter 1. And chapter 2 is on traditional Indian management techniques. Signing off, Rajsekhar Pola Prada.